to significantly step up the flow of critical humanitarian assistance into Gaza. The number of trucks entering Gaza continues to increase significantly, but we still have a long way to go. The United States is going to continue to drive humanitarian support for innocent people in Gaza who need help, and they do need help. We're going to continue to affirm that Israel has the right to responsibility to defend its citizens from terror, and it needs to do so in a manner that is consistent with international and humanitarian law.
Mahjoub Swari joins us again here in the studio. Mahjoub, we're seeing pictures of the Rafah crossing again today, people gathering there, hoping to be processed out. Do we expect that, first of all, to open again? And who's going to get out today?
It's expected at least 500 people who are dual nationalities, and also some of those who have who lived in Gaza for working with the international organizations. So the problem with the Rafah crossing is that there is a huge logistical problems, because most of the facility has been destroyed. You need the electricity, you need the computer system to work, you need the database. So all of these things are now facing a real problem. So even if the computer system does not work, you have to go to manual. And then how do you want to do it? So there are a very logistic, there is a details, what I think complicating the whole issue and slow down, the people to go out of Gaza. In addition to that, there is an issue about the political debate. I mean, what about the 2 million Gazan people? I mean, the priority is 500 or 1,000, 2,000. What about those people? Why the debate does not include sort of ceasefire? Why those people are leaving? Why the debate does not include more trucks to come into Gaza and bring food, medicines to Gaza. So there are some details, as we say, devils in details, complicating the whole issue of moving people out of Gaza, which is reflected, I always say, the revenge of geography. Gaza geography is making it difficult for people in Gaza and people outside Gaza to present any help.
So we've got the US Secretary of State, Antony Blinken, arriving again in the region tomorrow on Friday. Do you think the debate is going to be focusing then more on a ceasefire, more humanitarian aid getting into the Strip?
You know, every time Blinken comes to the region, the statement coming from Washington talks on one major thing, which is basically the future of Gaza post-Hamas era. That's what they talk about. Previously, he came with a statement coming before him from Washington, and now they talk about it. In the last 48 hours, there were some statements coming from Washington talks about Hamas will never control Gaza after this conflict. It will not giving an access to that. And one can say, why this narrative where they know that in the last 16, 17 years, Hamas itself was engaged in out of discussion with the Israelis, with others, and calm down the situation when the Israelis were delivering and the others. And one can say, what is the outcome of this way of thinking? If the American has experience in Afghanistan, where they said Taliban should be kicked out, Taliban should be marginalized, and then we found them sitting with Taliban. And I'm not sure why this mentality of marginalization, the people on the ground who are part of the social fabric of the Palestinian, regardless this kind of demonization happening now, but those people, they are belonging to Gaza. Where do you want to take them? And why international community, including the United States, defending the occupation? I'm not sure why they talk about, for example, bringing peacemaking forces. They did it in Afghanistan. They brought Turkey. It failed. I'm not sure why they copy the failed examples in Gaza while they see more suffering to the people. This is something, these are questions. I'm not sure why they are pushing to this instead of calling for ceasefire, instead of calling for humanitarian corridors to be open, instead of talking about arrangement for a long time, peace process, talks. Why they just go to the radical solution rather than finding something help human.
Because does a post-Hamas era even exist in reality?
That's what we say. I mean, Hamas, at the end of the day, Hamas is not coming from outside Gaza. Hamas is part of Gaza. It's part of the social fabric. You cannot identify them even. How do you know that is Hamas or Hamas? How many person that Hamas Israel knows that those are Hamas people? So these are a lot of questions. But again, we go back to the narrative, the narrative which basically set from day 1 and 2, that those are not human, those are barbaric, those don't belong to Gaza, and then they are built on this narrative. This will never succeed. This creates more hatred, this creates more division within the societies, and this will put a major question about the credibility of other nations while they look all of the suffering in Gaza, and they just talk about the others, not the human being of Gaza.
How urgent is it that more aid gets in? How difficult is it that more aid gets in when we see the intensity of the discussions between all of these different players simply to get the gate open for a few hours in a day? I mean, it seems very difficult to see how this situation can be maintained.
It's very complicated. Complicated because, one, the Israelis are involved. They have to check every truck, every item, every box, everything coming to Gaza. And they don't trust the Egyptians. They have to take to the other cross, and they have to check everything. And secondly, they want to make sure that Hamas does not benefit. And the question here, how can you identify Hamas and Gaza? You know, they don't have flags. They are not a different human being. They are part of Gaza. You know, so they create complications. They have created these complications, and this does not help humanitarian aid to come into Gaza. More important is, you know, all of this suffering, all of these massacres, more than 950 massacres to the families in Gaza. Al-Akhras family in Sayrat camp lost 93 family members in one day. In Jabalia, in one day, family lost 53 members. Those massacres do not shake the world, do not make them think, reconsider all of this and move a little bit toward sort of a human feeling.
We've been hearing the word genocide creeping in a little bit into public discourse. We saw a top UN official resigning yesterday using that word. Yeah. But it's not generally accepted. As you say, it's not... Israel is still being given carte blanche to do what it wants. Because
they set the narrative from day 1 that those people are barbaric. Those people are not a human. They demonize them, and they are trying to justify it. And now, yesterday, one of the senior United Nations officials in Gaza said, I haven't seen what I see in Gaza in the last 24 hours. So, and he said, I quote, this can be considered a war crimes. This is what the official said. So it's not only genocide; it's a crime, it's a war crime. It is disrespecting international law. All of this, but again, how they set the narrative, how they demonize the other, how they dehumanize the other, are helping them now. But for long term, it will produce more hatred, will produce more radicalization, and then one come and ask why they hate us.
Mahjoub Zweri, we'll speak to you again throughout the day. Thanks very much for the moment coming on set. Now, the Jenin refugee camp in the occupied West Bank has long been a centre for Palestinian armed resistance to Israel's illegal occupation. The estimated 15